Hello, welcome to Creating with Kate. Today I'm going to be working with baking soda dough to make ornaments. I decorated mine with pressed flowers that I collected over the summer, but you could use any materials you like. Paint, glitter, whatever makes you happy. Let's get started. Let's talk about materials. To make the baking soda dough, you'll need baking soda, cornstarch, water, and a rolling pin. The flowers in the Mod Podge are just a suggestion for what you might use for the decorating. First, in a small saucepan, pour 1 cup of baking soda and 1/2 cup of cornstarch. With a spoon, stir it all together. Add your 3/4 cup of water and take the whole mixture over to the stove. Using a medium heat, cook your mixture for 3 to 5 minutes and stir it constantly. Scrape the bottom and the sides of the pan. First it will get bubbly and then it will get thicker. So remove it from the heat and let it cool down. Once it's cool enough to handle, knead it until it's smooth. Prepare your working surface with a little cornstarch. If it is sticky or too wet, add more cornstarch to the dough as you work it until you can form it into a smooth, rollable dough. So grab your rolling pin and start rolling out the dough. You'll want to keep the thickness even throughout, about a 1/4 inch thick. If it's too thin, it might break, but if it's too thick, it might develop cracks as it dries. Then it's time to cut out your shapes. You could use any shape you want. Grab some cookie cutters and get creative. We went with the traditional circle, but there are no wrong choices. The possibilities are endless. Once you have your shapes cut out, transfer them gently onto some parchment paper or a tray to let them dry fully. Then take your scraps and reworking them into a nice smooth ball, roll them out a second time and cut out more shapes, and continue in this process until you run out of dough. If you're going to be turning these into ornaments or something that you want to hang, while the dough is wet, you're going to want to make sure that you poke a hole in it so that you'll be able to have somewhere to thread the twine through. Then you're going to let them sit out and air dry for a day or two until they're fully dry and ready for decorating. The next step is you're going to need to decide what you want to decorate with. One of the wonderful things about baking soda dough is that when it dries, it still retains its bright white color. So you can put anything on there and it will still really look nice. So you could use watercolors, or acrylic paints, or markers, or glitter, or whatever else makes you feel good. As for me, I decided to go with some pressed flowers. Over the summer, we had collected some in some of our wanderings, and I decided that this would be an excellent way to use them. I also collected some more delicate flowers from my garden and thought it would be an interesting experiment to see how each of them fared as they were pressed and put onto the ornaments. To press them, arrange them so they lay flat, place a piece of parchment paper or wax paper on top of the flowers, and close your book and wait for them to dry. Collect your flowers and your Mod Podge and a brush. With your brush, apply a layer of Mod Podge on the top of the ornament. Make sure you get good coverage so the whole surface has a pretty thick layer of the Mod Podge. And then it's time to add some flowers. Lay out the flower pieces on your ornament and arrange them to your liking. Once you're satisfied, press the flowers into the layer of Mod Podge, then brush a second layer on top. Some of my flowers, even after pressing and drying, were still pretty thick. So be sure to check yours after they're dried to make sure the flower pieces are securely attached. You may need additional layers of Mod Podge. Don't be afraid to be generous in your coverage. While it goes on a little cloudy, when it dries, it will be totally clear. Repeat this process until you've used up all of your decorations or all of your ornaments, whichever comes first. Sometimes, especially when using flowers, the stems will hang over the edge longer than you need them to be. So grab some scissors and just trim off the parts that you can't fold over the edge of your ornament. Often, Mod Podge will stay tacky even after it's dried, so I like to seal it in with a coat of varnish to keep it from sticking. I found it interesting that different flowers held up better under the Mod Podge than others. The wildflowers were more robust and held their color very well, while some of the petunias from my garden turned green and blue as they dried. Once the ornaments are dry and no longer sticky or tacky, it's time to get your twine and thread it through and get it ready for hanging. My go-to knot in tying these is the overhand knot, which, as they say, is right over left, left over right, which makes the knot both tidy and tight. And there you have it, baking soda ornaments. There are a few steps, maybe a little complex, but look at the result. It'll bring you a breath of summer all year long. Thanks for watching. See you next time.